The New Jersey Innovation Institute is the conduit that connects one of the nation's leading polytechnic institutions, New Jersey Institute of Technology, to the outside world. Created to leverage the vast resources of NJIT, the New Jersey Innovation Institute is focused on fostering innovation, building companies, and upskilling New Jersey's workforce. NJI employs over 100 people and generates over $35 million in revenue per year in industries such as defense and healthcare. To learn more about the innovative strides being taken at the New Jersey Innovation Institute, head to njii.com. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Greetings from the Garden State, powered by the New Jersey Lottery. I'm your host, Mike Ham. We're here in Red Bank, New Jersey at Johnny's Pork Roll and Coffee 2 with John Yarusi. John, welcome to the show.
Dude, this is awesome.
It's good to be here. We got a whole audience here, too. Also, this is a very somber day.
Yes, it is a very somber day.
We're recording this February 10th. This is coming out in March. But tell the people why this is a somber day.
Well, I think today's a somber day because a dear soul left the Garden State on this date in 1906. That would be one John Taylor of Hamilton Square, New Jersey.
Wow. It's like a really...
He's like the Elvis of what... He's like my Jesus.
Well, without John Taylor, who is John Yarusi then? You know what I mean?
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I'd be like Johnny Gabagool or Johnny Mortadella or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'd be. Johnny Hot Dogs.
Yeah. So let's just go like 30,000 foot view. What Johnny's Pork Roll is? I mean, that's not like immediately obvious from the name, but like, what do you guys do here? What do you make? Physical location. We're in the physical location, but there is a truck too. So do the whole thing.
I started a truck 10 years ago, and I really felt like the pork roll sandwich was getting maligned and not really getting the respect it deserved. I felt like it was slowly becoming something teenage kids ate on a bagel, and I'm like, that's not right. It's supposed to be on a hard roll, and it's supposed to have a runny egg, and it's supposed to have this blackened little pork roll around that little egg. And so I said, I want to start a food truck that makes the best pork roll sandwich in the world and has great coffee. That was the whole menu.
Yeah.
And slowly it branched into 9 or 10 different pork roll sandwiches, all built around the same idea. And then I opened the store in Red Bank 5 years ago.
Okay.
So we've been here 5 years.
So when you were like putting this thing together and like, all that, you really didn't have like a food background.
No, I had more of a love of New Jersey and a love of pork roll. And I came from a sort of media branding, advertising. I worked on the radio at one point when I was right out of college, at a local station. And I adored New Jersey. Yeah. And I felt like, this little funny meat that I grew up eating as a kid, like all of us, deserved its respect. And it's out there. I mean, it organically, people love pork roll. And I'm like, I'm going to jump in and dominate that space.
Yeah.
Because I've seen reviews. There was one guy, I was at the track this summer, and there was a guy put a Google review up. He's like, I stopped by that Johnny Pork Roll truck. I waited, blah, 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 exorbitant amount of time to get a sandwich. There's hardly a meat on it. Obviously, the guy's not from New Jersey. And I so badly wanted to write back and go, why would you say that?
Yeah.
What people would say to me in the truck, like, are you from New Jersey? I'd be like, no, I'm from Nebraska. I just saw a marketing opportunity to exploit you, and I really work
for
Merck selling Lipitor, or whoever the hell makes these cholesterol drugs. But it really was. It was just a love of being where I was from, and I was like a self-hating New Jerseyan in my teen years. I feel like, like everything, New York was the epicenter of my world. All my news came out of there. All my sports teams I rooted for were from there. And then things changed in the 80s, like when New Jersey got the Devils. I went to Ranger games as a kid. That was it. I couldn't root for the Islanders. I'm not from Long Island. I was a Ranger fan. And then Jersey got a team. I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. And then I slowly got over the hump, even first going into New York City, like, where are you from? I'm like, New Jersey. Like, you didn't want to tell people you were from there. They would laugh at you.
Yeah.
And slowly things changed. And I don't know what happened that we got our cred and respect, but I just saw that trend and wave. And again, I worked in media and advertising. I saw it and I said, there's something here. I'm jumping into this stream.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
Like I've grown up my whole life, Ocean, Monmouth County, a little bit in Union.
Yeah, I was going to ask where you were, like where you grew up and all that.
I was born in Overlook Hospital in Summit, New Jersey.
Okay. So a North Jersey guy.
In a way, I'm from Taylor Hamland, or that new thing we call Central Jersey, kind of.
Sure.
yeah, we lived, as a little kid, I lived in Piscataway. I went to Arbor School, and then we had gotten a summer home in Lavallette, and eventually we moved from Piscataway to Watchung, had our little summer house in Lavallette, so I grew up in that seaside, Point Pleasant, Manasquan realm, which is funny because after that we moved full-time to Monmouth County in Spring Lake, and that was like a whole new world to me. Like north of Manasquan Inlet was like, whoa, big jetties, seawall. It's like, what goes on here? I can see New York. So it was bizarre to me, but I've been up and down the coastline, at least this area of Central Jersey, my whole life, and I ate pork roll as a kid, and I grew up surfing and going to the beach and being hungry as hell when I got out of the water, and this was just this thing we ate. And then I split and went to New Jersey, and like New Year's Day, 92 into 93, I went to Idaho with my cousin, who had just finished college at OCC, and my uncle taught at the University of Idaho, and he said, why don't you come out here? It's so inexpensive. You get residency in 6 months. You can live with me. Right.
All over the place.
So my cousin's going, he goes, what do you want to do? And this was right on the tail end of my illustrious radio career that I had down here. Because in high school, I fell in love with this local radio station, FM 106.3, and it was playing the Smiths and Melissa Etheridge and the Bongos and the Feelies and all these bands that, REM, all that stuff, Echo and the Bunnymen, and I just adored it. I said, I want to do this. And so I had this little bit of moment of success in radio, which led to DJing in Asbury at night, and then that kind of all imploded on me, and I didn't run away, but I said I needed to change the scenery. I ended up in Idaho, and the only reason I tell you this story is that's when it dawned on me. I was 24, maybe, that pork roll was only in New Jersey.
Right.
Like I assume like tasty cakes are everywhere and rice potato chips, things that coming from New Jersey, like this is the way it is. The sun will rise and pork rolls available everywhere. And the minute I got halfway through Pennsylvania, it was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
And my uncle obviously was from New Jersey, who lived in Idaho. And then it became a running joke that we had to bring pork roll back to Idaho. Because when you give that to people and they try it, like, this is really unique. What is it?
Yeah.
So all those things kind of culminated, and that's why I was like, I want to start a little business around pork roll.
Sure. When I went to college, it was in Pennsylvania, and one of my buddies that I played baseball with was from like Long Island.
Yeah.
And I just like assumed that it was like Taylor ham pork roll, like a northeast thing.
Yep.
So I was like, you know what that is, right? Like you get those in Long Island. And he was like, I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about.
Dude, it happens.
Then I was like, I was so blown away, like how.
We get kids that play at the Armory like hockey. There's a great little hockey rink in Red Bank, and they have all these little traveling hockey teams. So these are junior kids, like they're 14 at the oldest. And a Long Island team will always come in there to look online. Oh, where's the best place to get a sandwich? So they end up in here, and they don't know what the hell pork roll is. And I get the biggest kick out of feeding all these little squirts pork roll.
Yeah.
It's like, this shit is awesome. I'm like, it is. It's not bacon. I'm not telling you it's bacon, but its own little vertical, there's nothing else like it. I mean, so I can so relate. It's so bizarre, like Staten Island even.
Sure.
But now it's like it's crossing over. It's the Staten Island, the Italians are like, this shit's unbelievable. It's like this mortadella kind of blah, 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 ground up pork thing. But to me, it'll always be so Jersey.
For sure.
It's so embedded to us. I don't think there's any other state that has a food product that is like, they have a style of sandwich or a style of fried chicken or barbecue or this or that, blah, blah, blah. But, lobsters, Maine, whatever you want to say. But pork roll is this revered old processed food. I mean, it's crazy. Today, it's funny because today's the day the guy left. He's still buried in Trenton, New Jersey.
Right, which is also crazy.
Yeah, John Taylor.
So you're in Idaho. We'll pick up the story there.
Idaho.
You're in Idaho, and then you decide you're coming back, I guess.
Yeah,
right.
I ended up getting a job on the radio back here. So I came back to
in Jersey.
Worked on the radio. I worked at I hated it. I felt like a grown up because I had a benefits package and 401k.
Real adult.
Like, wow, I'm a real disc jockey. I'm really getting a salary to do this. And I worked at 92.7 WOBM, right? It was Ocean County's first and best. You know what I mean? It's like, I was like in my 20s. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I used to play Depeche Mode, Echo and the Bunnymen. Now I'm playing Gloria Estefan and Simon and Garfunkel. And it was just like, and they probably knew I hated it and they fired my ass. So I got fired from that job. Then I didn't know what to do. Then I almost got on MTV's Real World. I swear to God, the year they were doing it in England, I had sent a little film I made about myself, and I got vetted for the top 10 finalists, but I didn't make it. So I was like an alternate.
I wish you did, because we could have talked about that here.
Yeah, that would have been pretty funny.
Yeah.
So then that didn't happen. That didn't happen. And then I was like, I don't know. And then I got my first job in New York, and I worked for a design magazine in New York, and that kind of led me into the whole media and advertising and branding. visuals and graphics and type and da-da-da-da. And I just loved it. I just soaked it up. So I did that for a chunk of my life. And then that kind of went upside down on me. And then it was like, what am I going to do? And I've told this story because it's the truth. It's like the hurricane. My father died. My whole life imploded. My marriage with my wife and my 2 girls. And it was like, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I mean that. It's like, and then I'm like, I'm going to do a pork roll food truck.
Yeah, like, what was,
like I really said, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, why?
Because I had a client I worked with in New York, and he was raising grass-fed beef.
Okay.
And I used to go on QVC, like, hey, it's John from Lassance with this grass-fed beef from Montana. And at that point, the client I had really challenged you to think of new ideas. So I said to him at one point, I said, maybe we should do a grass-fed burger truck. You know, that'll get the product in the street. We'll gain emails. We'll give them a discount to get their email. We'll market to them. You know, these Wall Street guys are all about health. You know, I made all this money. Now I want to live forever.
Sure.
So they were all ahead of that curve. Honestly, they really were, those guys, with embracing this kind of eating clean and eating healthy. So I did a food truck, and I had researched it. And there was a little truck that ran around Manhattan at night that I was just so enamored with. And all it was called was the dessert truck. And I loved the generic nature of it, like the chair, like. So I said, man, there should be a little truck in New Jersey that's just the pork roll truck. Like, this would work anywhere in New Jersey. It would be a funny sort of way to bring people together, have a little pork roll sandwich and coffee. And so that's where I cultivated the idea in my head. And then I was on the ass of my heels, like, what am I going to do? Because I couldn't find a job. And I started the pork roll truck after the hurricane.
Right.
I had a couple friends right down the street at the Dublin house in Red Bank. And my one friend at that point, Marty, had a restaurant. He had bought Carlos O'Connor's, which was one of the first funny Mexican restaurants here in Red Bank. Honestly, like Pre-Juanitos and all the other guys that are here that are head and shoulders on a different level, and that place is no longer around. But I told him this crazy idea I had. I said I want to do a pork roll food truck. You know, we're drinking Guinness, chatting. He goes, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I just want to do pork roll sandwiches and coffee. And at that point, I was working with a coffee guy. I won't say his name, but I was involved with another little coffee business. And I kept thinking about my idea of coffee and pork roll and coffee. And we all kind of jumped in together and started the little truck. And 10 years later, you know, it's like it's kind of here. But
so when you
just crazy.
Yeah, you put this idea for the truck together.
Yeah. I just thought food trucks were so neat. I looked it up.
Yeah, like what was the food truck scene like in Jersey 10 years ago? Because like I feel like Jersey is one of like a place that doesn't. I mean, go to like LA or other places, and it's like food trucks are the thing.
Yeah,
you know, I don't think that's really the case in Jersey.
You know what?
Even
it's because
still
of legislation.
Today.
It's really because of rules. Like New Jersey is a fascinating little state.
Yeah.
From top to bottom, and it's like you have counties, 21 of them. Then you got our overarching state government, and then every little municipality, township has their own little weird rules, and they'll hide behind rules why food trucks aren't allowed here, there, everywhere, and so it's very prohibitive for somebody who wants to jump in. But I guess around 2010, 11, I feel like that's when like, ooh, food trucks got cool all of a sudden. There were a handful of them around, and then boom, it just blew up. Right around the time, I feel like I caught it right on the uptick. They were just everywhere because they're just little mobile food businesses. They're incubators, they're dreams, they're ideas. Like they're as Jersey as they come. And some of the rules have laxed. Like recently, I think the governor laxed, or the state laxed the rules as far as food trucks and breweries. It's like a match made in heaven, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I get the restaurant and bar associate go, hey, that's not fair. You're acting just like a bar. You have food, you have TV, you have alcohol. How are you any different? Yeah. It is.
Sure.
You have to step outside in the street to get it. Yeah. You're going to bring it in. But it to me, it's all about competition in the truest sense. And those things push everybody to keep doing a good job. Yeah. Even in food, you know what I mean? You want another guy next to you, maybe he's pushing you a little bit. Sure. To keep you doing your thing. So food trucks, you know, it's still a challenge in New Jersey. It's definitely easier than it was 10 years ago. But like farmers markets, there's different opportunities to try to get going. Yeah. Because it's tough. You got to want to do it.
Is the food truck, and we'll take it 10 years ago when you started, like, because you have this idea and you're like, you know, working with other people to kind of get the idea off the ground and
new
get the
stuff
truck
I didn't
started.
know. Yeah. I said the idea.
Were there like other food trucks that were helpful for you, or more just like what's that world? Is it collaborative type thing?
You know, this is a really funny story. If anybody watches this and knows a truck called the Cinnamon Snail, he started out of Red Bank. It was an all vegan food truck, and he was revered. I mean, they would line up and wait for this guy. Yeah. And I remember the first year I pulled up next to him in my little 1985 Grumman Curbmaster flat top, little tiny fridge, 3-bay hand washing sink, like stripped down, and I'm all by myself in there making my little. And my menu was just pork roll, egg, and cheese. I mean, that was it.
Yeah. Like now. Yeah.
It was like, what do you make? I make pork roll sandwiches.
Yeah.
I make the pork roll sandwich. And working next to that guy, I always looked up to him. I said, Jesus, this guy's so successful. They line up, they wait for him, blah, blah, blah. And then by year 2, I started to catch him a little bit. I had a little bit of traction. And he wouldn't even talk to me for the first 2 years. Like, wouldn't even say hello to me. Finally, by the 3rd year, he came over to me, and his name is Adam. He said, so I guess you really like doing this. And I said, yeah, I kind of do. He goes, don't feel offended that I didn't come and talk to you. I've seen a lot of guys jump in and out. And a lot of guys have an idea. They jump in. They go, there's a lot of hard work. I'm not making what I thought I would make. And they get out. So eventually, case in point, we're still friendly, and I'm actually his commissary. Don't tell anyone for his food license in Red Bank.
Nobody listens to this show anyway, so you're.
But I did. I watched that guy, and he went to New York. I mean, he was the top food truck in New York City at one point. In the Wall Street Journal, did a GoFundMe to build his commissary in Brooklyn, and he couldn't even run his truck in Red Bank, where he's from.
Yeah,
that'd be like being John Bon Jovi in Sayreville says, "I'm sorry, you can't play here." What?
Yeah.
And whether you like him or not, like, that's where the guy's from.
Sure.
That's his town.
Yeah.
So I never understood that. Red Bank and a lot of these towns can make it really challenging. And again, it's this kind of idea. I hate that about business, but it's like their protection,
Yeah, right.
I won't even mention a certain ballroom I used to work at that I loved, and I was going to go back there. And people who know me say, oh my God, I know what he's talking about. But it was one of those things, like the in-house concession guy doesn't want me encroaching on his area.
Yeah.
And that's when I first started. It used to drive me nuts. I could go to a strip mall for something, and let's say there's a pizza guy or a bagel guy. They're out there like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I'm here for this event or this or that.
Sure.
So it can be a challenge, but, there's a handful of us that help. And Cinnamon Snail was one of them, strangely enough, the vegan. Oink and Moo, I remember the first events I did. They were just nice. Five Sisters. Like, the food truck scene back then was like being in a band. That makes sense to anybody. Like, hey, man, I need a bass cable. Or, hey, man, I forgot to load this, or I do have a distortion pedal, blah, blah, blah. Like, people would help you. They wouldn't be like, no, I don't have that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I love that part about it. And I have to say about my street in Red Bank here with the store, we all kind of behave similarly, all the food businesses. I need peppers, I need napkins, do you have any lids? Like, it's kind of neat to work alongside where you're competing, obviously.
Right.
But there's like, you know what I mean, kind of industry admiration. I think food truck guys, they're just a different breed.
Yeah.
I'll always think of myself as a food truck guy more than anything else.
Yes.
It's like
how
showmanship in theater.
Right. Yeah.
It's obviously food. It's the whole shtick of it, the hype. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
I love it.
So when you started the truck and you were talking about kind of how like, you had the idea, obviously, and then you start working with these other people around the same time. Yeah. Like your life is basically getting like
trying to get it back on track.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And to me, like starting a food truck is kind of like, not everyone would think of that as like the safety valve to pull,
Yeah.
And so like, did you see at a certain point early on be like, okay, this is getting me back on the right track or whatever to kind of like get that thing rolling or get your life like you were talking about rolling? I
swear to God, it gave me back a sense of myself. Yeah, I know this sounds really corny, but it was like, I was just like stripped of everything. Like I felt like vulnerable.
Yeah.
I felt naked. I mean, I don't know if anybody's watched that show on the History Channel, Foods That Made America Great. I obsess watching those because they're all about food businesses and they all start somewhere.
Yeah.
And they don't start big, I mean, they were little ideas that grew, whether it was Kentucky Fried Chicken, Domino's Pizza, whether you like it, think it's good or bad, that's not really the question, or the answer, but they went after things. And I saw even about Heinz, who invented ketchup, who was the first guy to put stuff in a clear bottle. And his first attempt at creating some sort of good-looking, attractive, well-tasting thing to put on meat because people overcook meat because they're afraid of getting sick. And when you overcook stuff, it has no flavor, no taste, so he created ketchup.
Yeah.
Because before that was all these weird brown cookie crap in brown bottles. He went completely bankrupt. Like, failed miserably the first attempt, and came back.
Right.
Campbell's Soup, right?
Jersey.
You think of the Camden, New Jersey, like the guy almost succeeded in dehydrating soup and making it, but had no taste. So what did he do? He went to France and he learned how to cook and learned about flavor, came back and applied what he learned. Like, to me, that's just the stuff that keeps you going. And to me, food trucks are those little tiny ways for a food person to take a shot.
Yeah.
Even themselves, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's a lower risk to start a food truck, I feel like, than to start a restaurant.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. It's just the whole thing. I just feel very lucky that I got from A to B. And I don't mean to, well, I guess it's pork roll. It's me and pork roll. But
Sure.
I don't know. It's just neat. And
Yeah.
it all goes back, as I said, just to Jersey. I know that sounds corny, but
Yeah.
it's just where
I don't think
I'm
it's corny on this show. That's like all we do. It's Jersey.
I said it
Yeah.
like nondescript, like, what is it? I go, well, if New Jersey was a country,
Yeah.
like anywhere in Europe, and you say, what's your ethnic food?
Pork roll.
I sell Jersey ethnic food. That's
Yeah.
what do you sell? I sell Jersey ethnic food. Like it's our thing.
Yeah.
It's totally our thing, and it's
Yeah.
only made here still, which is even more amazing.
Right.
When you think about it.
Totally.
It's bizarre.
And so this is gonna be my last question before we have to break. So so we talked about kind of how like the truck, like what the starting the truck meant for you in that time of your life.
Yeah.
But then even now, like 10 years later, which is like you said with the cinnamon snail guy,
Yeah.
it's like most people kind of like pop in, pop out. You're still here now with like an actual physical
know how.
location, right?
Grace of God.
Sure. But we won't touch, we'll knock on wood somewhere.
Yeah.
Find any. But like, what's it like being a Jersey guy, kind of like almost coming back to this general area where you're from, like Jersey Shore, that kind of thing, and doing something that's so like, prototypical Jersey food, and like kind of, marrying that whole thing together and doing what you're doing now.
You know what's weird? I swear to you, it's why I said about like radio and advertising and media. It really took all the things I had learned in 50 years of life and allowed me to put them all together.
Yeah.
I mean, it just all made sense to me, and it all came together. And it doesn't sometimes feel like a job, which is terrible to say, but people envy that and say, well, but you do what you want. You say what you want. But it was just love. It just truly was like, as I'm proud to be from this state. I'm proud to love pork roll. I'm proud to share with people. I mean, I mentioned to you, I've worked on this little film that's almost done, and I want to try to pitch it as a show idea.
Yeah.
But I want to go around the country and make pork roll with people and talk to them. And then after we get beyond the aspects of what that is, then it's like, well, what is this now to you, wherever I may be? And we were talking about it earlier, but it's like, to me, food is like the one thing I still think could unite a lot of the issues we go through.
Sure.
Regardless of diet and all that stuff, everybody has to eat.
Yeah.
So sharing food to me, and I don't know if that's just from an Italian background, not to sound elitist, but an Italian, if you go to their house, the first thing they're going to say is, are you hungry? You want something to
right.
eat?
Yeah.
Like it's the most natural way to say welcome, or can I nourish you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
So in a food truck, it took I did weird theater as a kid, and I did radio, and I understood shtick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't mean it in a bad way, but it's like entertainment. And that's why even like working in Asbury, which is still like been the greatest, I don't know, thing of all of it, was that truck in Asbury Park. It's almost like 10 years. It'll be, I think, the 10th year that I'll be there this summer. But
Yeah.
the characters you meet, the people you meet, the ones from Europe, the ones that don't know about it, the ones that are, say, Taylor Ham, like
Yeah, right.
it's like shtick for miles,
Sure.
man. Like, I as I said, it just really is weird how it all transpired, and I just saw it in my head, and I said, I want to go do this, and I kind of made it happen.
Yeah.
So, but again, I didn't do it all by myself. Like anybody wants to do anything, you can't do anything by yourself. I mean, you can in your mind.
Of course.
I was very lucky and fortunate. I had a lot of people along the way that continue to help me or have helped me in this whole story, and I still feel like it's unfolding.
Yeah.
You know what I
Still
mean?
telling it. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Exactly.
I've been here with you. It's like this
Yeah.
is awesome.
This is another piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
This means you finally made it, though. Being on my show.
What does that mean, mate? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
I know
being
what
on
you
my
mean,
show is
but
what
yeah.
means you made it.
Yeah.
All the big guests.
Oh my God.
All right, so let's take our break.
All right.
And then we'll be back. But this is the Greens with the Garden State podcast powered by the New Jersey Lottery. We're here in Red Bank, New Jersey at Johnny's Pork Roll and Coffee 2 with John Yarusi. We'll be right back.
The Mayo Performing Arts Center is the heart of arts and entertainment in Morristown, New Jersey. MPAC presents over 200 events annually and is home to an innovative children's arts education program. To see MPAC's upcoming schedule of world-class concerts, stand-up comedy, family shows, and more, head to mayoarts.org or just click the link in our show notes.
Hey folks, I want to tell you about the crew over at Make Cool Shit. These are the magicians who recently gave our podcast a jaw-dropping makeover. You know how we roll here at Greetings with the Garden State podcast, right? We're all about that Garden State attitude. Well, Make Cool Shit shares that same vibe, and they've got something absolutely epic to offer. It's called the Unlimited Cool Shit Design Subscription. It's a game changer, my friends. Imagine this, unlimited creativity, one flat monthly fee, and none of that boring stuff. It's like having your very own army of design superheroes on speed dial. Whether you're a fresh rate startup or a seasoned business looking to shake things up, the team at Make Cool Shit has got your back. It's all about making your brand sizzle, no matter where you are in your journey. So if you're ready to turn your ideas into mind-blowing realities, then it's time to connect with Make Cool Shit. To check them out on Instagram at WeMakeCoolShit or visit their website, WeMakeCoolShit.co. Remember, that's co, not com.
Greetings from the Garden State is proud to be partnered with some amazing brands. A special thanks to LeGrand Coffee House, our official coffee, and Birdling, our official travel bag. To learn more about these and all of our other great sponsors, head to greetingsfromthegardenstate.com.
I was making one of those silly little videos. I'm like, hey, happy 4th of July. I'm in my little Asbury Park roaster. I'm making a little Reuben. And off camera, you hear this guy go, do you have a menu? And it like drives me over the, like.
Isn't it written on the side of the truck?
Well, it says what it is. I didn't have the menu out. Morning, I'm like, you either know what the hell we sell or don't even bother. Or come and go, hey, man, looks like a good truck. A lot of people here. You must sell something good.
Yeah, right.
You know, what is it, chopped up babies? No, it's not chopped up babies. It's pork roll. Oh, I'll try one. Like, so you hear this guy offline. He's like, hey, do you have a menu? I'm like, do I have a menu? And all of a sudden I go, yeah, it's right there on the side of my truck. And it says, Johnny's pork roll and coffee. He goes, oh, yeah, pork roll and coffee, do you? I go, that's right, buddy.
Yeah, nailed it.
That's all I got. You got it.
Yeah.
You're a smart guy. And then he walks away, right? He disappears. And you hear me look at the camera and go, can you believe that fucking guy? I'm like, can you believe that shit? That's how I go, can you believe that shit? Guy's got a Harvard shirt on. I'm like, this shit will told you, buddy, we lied to you. You're not that fucking smart when you got that shirt. And so I go, show the smart man. I go, here's the smart man. You didn't need to see a menu, right? And what'd you get? He goes, pork roll Reuben. I go, that's right. You know my menu.
Yeah.
I give him the thing. And it got, 200,000 views of me yelling at this guy. And I ripped. Oh, shove that sandwich up your ass. All these tough guys. Then you go to their page, you're like guys with beards, like hugging puppies. I wanted to be like, oh, right. You're a tough guy hugging your little puppy. When you look at them and you go, who is this guy? Looks like somebody I would know, like any of us.
Sure.
And yet they come at you like, fuck you, I'd shove that sandwich up your ass. That's not a pork roll, that's a Reuben. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, here we go again. Like, sorry.
It's okay. We got that all on tape, too. So.
Oh, Jesus, great. But maybe the guy, I don't know what it is. It's always guys from Boston that I get into arguments with. Always Boston.
Well, they just don't get it.
Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, they don't understand. Ooh. That's right.
Massholes.
Massholes.
They don't know what pork roll is up there to those fools.
Courtesy of Greetings from the Garden State. We'll make that a clip.
That's what's weird about running a food business today, though. The ability for every consumer to wield power. Like to really get into it. And, this is a funny story, too, since we're talking about that. This was after the, what's the pizza joint? You said you interviewed the guy, Nettie's, right?
The Italian spot.
Yeah, where he made the no 12-year-olds, no kids, right?
Yeah.
And it got all this hype online. Everybody's like, oh, my God, can you believe what kind of person does that? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, Justin, who you met, who works here, myself, we're like, good for him. If that's what he wants to do, it's his business. Let him do what he wants. One day I was working, and it was after I just finished doing Monmouth Park for the good old New Jersey Lottery. Phenomenal day.
Shout out Lottery.
Shout out to Lottery. That was incredible. I'd never done the track, so I don't know if it's because I was kind of a new truck in that annual lineup. We got hammered. It was like a joke to even get to the truck. Just boom, 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 boom. So I worked, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, the whole damn thing. So Tuesday morning, I said, all my staff, all 4 or 5 of them, I said, you know what, sleep in. You all worked hard this weekend. Good job. And I'm lying in bed at like 6 a.m. like, John, you don't have to go to work. You can just put online your clothes today. You had a long weekend. You worked your ass off. I'm like, no, I got to go in. Somebody might travel to get that sandwich and I'd feel terrible if I wasn't open. It says online I'm open, I got open. So I come in, I open. Sure enough, we're busy as hell. By 12 o'clock, I have one stinking piece of bread left. I have one roll left and it's 12 noon. I opened at 8. So 4 hours later, and I'm like, all right, good job. You went into work. A guy and his wife and his 2 beautiful little kids come in and I see them looking at the menu and they're debating, what to do. And the father says, what do you want to do? You want to get him something here or do you want to get him something at Pizza Slice next door? And the wife goes, I don't know, whatever you think. Goes, well, let's just get him a pork roll, egg and cheese. They can rip it apart. And I'm standing by my grill and I have one roll left. And I go, wow, it would kill me to waste my last beautiful piece of bread on 2 kids that are going to rip my sandwich apart. I kid you not.
Yeah.
And the guy looks at me and goes, what are you saying? You're not going to serve my kid? I go, well, I'm saying there's no kids menu up there.
Yeah.
You won't serve my kid. I said, look, I didn't say that. It just would bother me. People travel here to get what I make. It would kill me that I made a sandwich for you and your young daughter to rip apart and throw into the garbage can.
Yeah.
Go get him pizza. It was basically like trying to tell him, brother, this guy stormed out and goes, that's it. You're finished. You're finished. And sure as enough, the wife, her girlfriends, whoever else, 1 star, 1 star, 1 star, took my 4.8 down to a 4.5 like that. Then he made this whole post where he recounted exactly what I told you. Put it on NewJersey.com, Asbury.com, Middletown.com, Redbank.com. Hats off to the moderators of a lot of those sites. Like, hey, man, this isn't like Bash People Land.
Yeah, right.
He's not even in X town that you're complaining about. I was like blown away that this guy like got that mad at me because I said what I said, and I did say it. And looking back, I wish I just said, yeah,
Sure.
have the sandwich.
You had a long day.
Sorry,
Yeah,
guy that drove from Princeton. You'll have to come back again and endure Red
right.
Bank and parking. But
All four of you can rip it up.
oh, he mentioned it. He said, he goes, and then he looked at me and said, people travel to get my food, you know. And I'm like, I'm not saying the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Yeah,
I do have
traveled
these
here
weirdos.
today.
Dude, it's weird. There is an underground scene of eater guys. They don't have Instagram pages. They're not asking for a sponsorship, but they legitimately map out. They'll come in here like, we're coming here, then we're going A, B, C, D.
Yeah.
I'm always blown away.
Yeah.
You know, where they're going to go on this little eat. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
hey, man, we got the day up. Let's go eat some pork roll sandwiches, you know, and roll around. So I'm glad that I'm sort of in even that little breath of conversation with the, you know, the Greek legendary up in Kearney. Slaters, come on. I get thrown against them all the time.
Yeah.
Still don't get that sandwich.
Yeah.
No disrespect, Slaters. I don't get that sandwich. It's just too big. It's too gauche. Like, I'm a little bit of a, I don't know. I like things to be like
Yeah.
the way they should be, and that sandwich is so big. But again, I'm in the league with them. The Franks, all these guys have been making these sandwiches for, I don't know, a long time.
Yeah. And still swinging with them. I feel like we're just going to, like, we're not going to do, like, an actual intro for this segment because we've been going this whole time.
I don't know. You know, it's funny. I got to ask you a question.
Okay.
When was do you remember the first time you had pork roll as a child? Do you remember how you
first
had it?
memorable one was in, it was Cape May. And Cape May on the boardwalk, they had like those big pavilion things.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like a little, just like, you know, like a little flat top grill, like some probably like high school, college kids working over the summer.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad and I, you know, my family was on the beach. My dad and I walked up. We were going to get food for everyone. So we got Cokes and Taylor ham, egg, and cheeses. And I just said Taylor ham, egg, and cheeses.
Dude, it's all right.
But I
you
got
know what?
North
I
Jersey
don't get
guy.
upset about that anymore, but that's beautiful. But that's your childhood memory, right?
Yeah. Oh, that was like, I don't know. I'm sure that wasn't the first one that I ever had.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was probably like 8 at that point.
You know what? That's
For whatever reason, like that still sticks with me. And like a Coke and a pork belly and cheese is still like a comfort thing for me.
Yeah, dude.
That and like a bologna and mustard is so.
That's really, I swear to God.
all the fake meats are really up my
They're not
wheelhouse.
fake meats. Beyond Meats is fake. That's
Sure.
fake.
Yeah.
It's chopped up pork shoulder.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's chopped up pork shoulder with sugar and salt. Yes, and sodium nitrite. Ooh, so evil.
Yeah.
Thank you, USDA.
Right.
You know what I mean? A lot of that stuff's put in because the government thinks it's to keep us safe.
Yeah.
Like making our eggs white. That was their choice.
Yeah.
Prior to that, eggs didn't even need to be refrigerated. And they lasted for 6 months. Oh, well, we're worried about this, so. And again, I'm not, again, sitting in judgment of their decisions, but when you look at it, I hate when people go, oh, this is, you know, pork roll's so bad. Because, again, I sell coffee, and I have to laugh when a yoga mom will come and go, oh, can I get egg and cheese? Do you do egg whites? And I'm always like, I'm not a racist, and I like yelling people. No, I don't say that for them. But honestly, I joke about that. And then they go, obviously, can I have coffee? Sure, great.
Yeah.
It's organic, it's fair trade. It's got every check mark for
Sure.
you. Oh, do you have almond or oat milk? I go, oh, processed milk? It's not processed. I go, yeah, it is. It was an almond. Now it's milk. That's
Right.
called processed.
Yeah.
Pork
That was
roll is just
processed.
pork shoulder, who mislabeled many years ago as ham, even though we know it's just chopped up pork shoulder. But
Yeah.
I just hate when people kind of get down on that all the time, like it's processed. I get processed to me is multiple ingredients. I don't even know what the hell they are.
Yeah.
You could understand what's in pork roll if you look at the label.
Sure. So
Probably wearing the label.
yeah.
I don't know.
So by the way, we're listening to the Greetings from the Garden State podcast, powered by the New Jersey Lottery.
We love the New Jersey Lottery.
We love the New Jersey Lottery, so shout out to them.
Are they bringing the pork roll ticket back?
This year, I think.
Are they
I think
really
later this year.
They should.
TBD.
And is the company in Trenton going to play ball with them, I hope, this year?
I don't know.
Because you know it would have been a lot better. I can't say it, and you can't say it.
Yeah, I
If they
guess.
had the proper name in there.
Yeah.
What the hell were you thinking?
Yeah.
My God, I would love to advise them.
Sure.
If Taylor, you're
anybody's
watching,
gonna advise them, I feel
really,
like that would be.
I have it figured out because really, back to where we started with all this.
Yeah.
Pork roll is a memory.
Sure.
Branding and advertising are about tying memories and deep emotional attachment to a product.
Yes.
Pork roll, I've said this in many interviews, has that for miles, for a century of time in this state.
Yeah.
And I knew making sandwiches for a dad that would come with his little 3-year-old bundle of joy daughter, this is her first pork roll sandwich. She will remember that the day she puts that man in the ground. And
Yeah.
I don't mean that to sound morbid.
Sure.
Those are connections and bonds. In one of the other clips, I told a story. I had 2 women who came in, they were twins, and I laughed, said, oh, I have twin daughters. And we had this lovely conversation in Asbury, and they had to be, I'm guessing, early 70s, at least. And so I made them pork roll and cheese with mustard. They went and sat on the boardwalk. When they got done, they came back to the truck and they said to me, that sandwich was just delicious. And I said, oh, I'm happy to hear that. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah.
They said, no, you don't understand how delicious it was. And they recanted this whole story of being 10, 9 with their father driving to Asbury because Taylor had a stand on the boardwalk. At one point,
Oh, wow.
the Taylor Company was in Wildwood, Atlantic City, Asbury Park, I believe Point Pleasant, Seaside. They had them up and down, and all they saw was that.
Yeah.
And they remembered being a young girl with their father going to Asbury Park, eating pork roll and cheese and mustard.
Yeah.
Just food, again, back to that nourishment of our soul and all of it. It's a memory.
Sure.
It really is. It's something special.
What's yours?
You know what? The truth, my earliest memory of eating pork roll was my mom's mother when I was little, and I would stay over at their house, and they lived in Denellen. And she would make me scrambled eggs in the morning or something. I would be up early. And she would always give me this little meat that she would kind of take the disc and cut it up. And I would eat it with my fingers, and I just loved it.
Yeah.
I couldn't eat it enough. And she called it pork roll. We never called it Taylor ham. Like, at least where they were from, Denellen, that's kind of that Middlesex zone area.
Yeah.
But I remember eating it that way. And the first time I think I had it as a sandwich was probably in my teenage years after surfing. Like, you know what I mean? Bagels weren't as big in the 80s. Not to date myself. There were people eating bagels, obviously, and there were places making them down here, but it wasn't as prevalent as today.
Yeah.
And half the kids, like, that's how they know pork rolls on a bagel. I'm like, do you have bagels? I'm like, well, I do, but there's no hole in the middle. Is that okay?
Yeah. That's like,
Seriously, that's what I say to them. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah.
It's got to be on a roll, man.
Well, it's like another interesting thing, too, because we're talking about, like, Taylor ham, pork roll, like that whole thing.
Yeah.
But just, like, the way that people make them. And you make a bunch of different kinds of sandwiches, which we'll get to in a minute. But, like, you know, the bagel thing, the ketchup, salt, pepper ketchup, like all those different things.
SPK.
Everyone does it, like, a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And I think it does tie it a lot to, like, those earlier memories.
However you got it. Like,
know?
I swear to you, this is going to sound really goofy, but I mean this. When you order pork roll from me after all these years of doing it, I can almost tell where you grew up.
Yeah.
Like, you go down Atlantic City, that area, it's all pork roll cheese. They don't even want the egg.
Right.
Honestly, that's the majority of guys eat it, pork roll cheese. You go up North Jersey, like Essex County, Passaic County, can you butter the roll, SPK? They like and it's delicious. It sounds crazy. But if you melt the butter into the roll and then the hot meat, dude, it's money. And let's not get into, oh my God, all the cholesterol.
No,
Stop.
we're not here for that.
If you don't eat it every day, you're going to be just fine.
Right.
It's so delicious. It's bizarre to me. The mustard thing is bigger down south. White cheese is big down south. And I don't know if that's because of the Philly cheesesteak and their affinity to white cheese and their thing originally, but North Jersey, they look at you funny. Even like Staten Island, Brooklyn, like, what? White cheese? What the hell's wrong with you? Like, got to use yellow. But
we did now we're just telling stories. We're not even telling your story, so I'm sorry about that. But
pork roll is my story. Okay.
So last year we did a barbecue competition. So I have like a little smoker, and you know everyone has to do chicken, everyone has to do ribs,
Nice.
and then everyone has to do a dealer's choice. All right. So like the year before, I did like a pork loin and some other stuff, and you know I've tried different things, but you know Chrissy and I, it was kind of her idea because she's actually like a chef.
Right.
She's like, well, isn't like a smoked bologna? Like they smoke the tube, like pitmasters do that during barbecue competitions.
Well, pork roll gets smoked a little bit too. I didn't even know
we made a smoked pork roll, egg, and cheese on a Martin's roll with a smoked egg aioli, which was fucking crazy.
Did you use Cooper's Sharp White American?
We did not. We did.
Oh, dude, I wish you could afford to use that cheese.
We
so
did
good.
The Kraft singles.
So as a really individually wrapped.
Oh yeah.
Went with the oil bin.
And then we put Cape Cod chips on it too, with shredded lettuce and tomato.
That sounds delicious. That's like
cleaned up. In the.
It is. You know what is funny?
Every single judge voted for us. They're like, that's the best thing we've ever had.
You know what's funny when you say that, and it's really the Latin influence in New Jersey, and more the Mexican, if anything. They like pork roll now, but they like it with ketchup, mayo, lettuce, tomato.
Yeah.
And dude, it's phenomenal. I mean, it really is. And I'll put something online showing that PBL to you, pork roll, bacon, lettuce, tomato, with an egg sometimes. Guys go nuts. Oh, I got this blouse. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
They get all like outraged. Dude, it's absolutely delicious. I mean, we did a version of like a chopped cheese because our boys Talercio had to like roll their next level shit out. I'm like, are you kidding me, you guys? You're coming after me like this? You're coming after me? So anyway, they did it, but we were like, what? You put egg in the that's not how you do it. It's, you know. But again, just the lettuce, tomato, onions, ketchup, mayo, little mayo on the toasted bun. Like, dude, it's like a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
I made gyros with it that'll blow you away.
I love that.
Lettuce, tomato, that kind of variation, if done right. And you had some fancy egg. You said, how'd you do the egg?
We like parboiled them. so that they were like kind of hard, but then we
Yeah.
poked a little hole in them, put them in the smoker so they got smoke, finished cooking. And then we took them out, she cracked them, like whipped them up into like a mayo basically, and then put that on there.
It was funny you said,
It was
'cause
crazy.
I got in a debate with a guy online on Facebook because I will still jump in, and it is me. Not in a why, not in a mean way, but we were debating something. He's like, oh, it's pre-cooked. And I go, no, I don't think it's pre-cooked. I mean, maybe you can't eat it raw. And I have some old Taylor marketing material from like the 20s or 30s. It's never eat raw. So I don't know if that was a problem that people
Sure.
thought they could eat it raw, even
Yeah.
though it's cooked. Like a hot dog and bacon are kind of cooked. You could eat it raw, but not a good idea. But the guy went on, and I didn't think the Taylor pork roll at least was smoked, but it is.
Oh.
I always thought of John Case's because he has it on a label, hickory smoke. Like
Sure,
you never
yeah,
see that on the Taylor packaging. You always see sugar cured. But I checked with somebody at Taylor, and it is in fact smoked for a spell and cooked, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's an amazing product when you really think about it.
Yeah.
There's nothing else like it.
Sure.
You know, it's
Well,
kind of my life.
before we got on the mics, that basically like your whole life now is that.
It's
You know?
it's sad
It's
and
what
it's
defines
flattering. It is. I go to a place like, hey, that's Johnny Pork Roll.
Yeah.
Johnny Pork Roll.
And
I'd be lying. I had a cop pull me over once. He let me
Yeah.
go. Because
Sure.
he did. He goes, he goes, are you Johnny Pork Roll? I go, yeah. And I do a lot of the PBA events, and he was nice. He's like, just, try not to drive so fast. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And it was nice. I mean, again, shout out to police. A lot of times they are nice. You never hear about the nice things.
Sure.
You hear, oh,
Yeah.
it's so bad. But
We just did a whole
I had a
episode
laugh when he
PBA.
came over. He goes, are you Johnny Pork Roll? I'm like, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Not that it matters. I'm nobody, but it's
Sure.
weird to me.
But you're
that's
somebody.
become my name.
Yeah. Like I had to look up what your last name was because I had no idea.
Yarusi is such a weird name.
Yeah.
Johnny Y. Everybody called me, that was my nickname in high
Johnny
school.
Y.
Yeah, Johnny Y.
Yeah.
And on the radio, it was Johnny Y.
Yeah. Now it's Johnny Pork Roll.
That's Johnny Pork.
So when you have the truck, you do the truck for 5 years and then at what point do you decide, let's do a brick and mortar shop?
You know what's weird? I started the truck and I had all this little traction and notoriety and got a lot of nice, you know what I mean? I felt like I was doing something. People really dug it. And I watched a lot of other guys that were in the truck scene open stores. And I was like, oh, why don't I have one? Why don't I have one? Why am I still in my truck and these guys have stores? It took me longer to do it, but when I eventually did it, it lasted 5 years because a lot of those guys that jumped in the stores quickly after 24 months of success in a food truck are no longer still in the game because it's hard. I mean, they're different kinds of businesses and they have pluses and minuses. The truck will make more money per hour than the store, but the store pumps oil on a more regular basis. It's like that catch-22, and I always felt like I needed one and the other to sort of go. Because, again, a food truck in New Jersey, what do you do in January and February? I mean, you got to be pretty hardcore. There are guys that run them, trust me. They're out there, but it's tough. I mean, you got to be like a little warrior. You got to be tough to run a food truck. Food truck almost is like kitchen mentality of deadliest catch.
Sure.
Like, oh, I've worked in kitchens. I know what it's like. It's like, yeah. If you're working in a kitchen in 20-foot seas and 20-degree weather, like, that's what it's like in a food truck. It's just wild, man. But the thing that it goes all back to the same thing. It's the interaction of making it and giving it to somebody. It's the sharing of yourself or nourishing of someone else. Sure, they pay you money for it, but you're still giving them something you want them to eat, love, appreciate, and say, that really hit the spot.
Yeah.
You know, in the true sense of that. And pork roll for most of us that are from Jersey hits the spot always.
Sure. Like no matter when.
Dude, I buy it at Wawa.
Yeah.
I'll confess. I do.
I've done that
I'll see it
myself.
in 7-Eleven. Like, I'll get a little
check.
coffee. I'll get
Yeah.
in the little heat box. I still enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's not what I think I make. I like to think I'm like
I would hope not. Yeah.
ratchet it up a little bit
Sure,
from like
yeah.
Longhorns to Lugers. Like, I'm kind of that next step. But having the store has been great. It's a little store. I mean, it's kind of like a food truck with a roof.
I kind
has its
of
challenges.
that's like, you get the walls over here kind of
Quilted stainless,
Yeah.
mimicking the food.
Yeah, even like the tin ceiling. I think that almost kind of like adds like that element of
Well,
like
the
you're
trucks
still
all
in
have
a
a
food
silver
truck.
top and then
Yeah,
white and then black on the
even
bottom.
these where your timeline is of like it's almost kind of like a window.
Yeah.
Because
I wanted people to understand how old pork roll is. Even ones that don't know, like it predates the Civil War.
which is crazy.
Like a lot of Americans died in the Civil War. A lot. It's amazing. John Taylor obviously didn't fight. He was around, but it's nuts that it goes. It predates the women's right to vote. Was 1920. Like for 70 years, women could eat pork roll and had no say. Biden or Trump, who cares what you think? No, I don't mean that in a bad way. You know what I'm saying? But that's our
That's what it
history.
was.
That's our history.
Yeah.
And as much as people get upset, we haven't gone to where we need to go. Yes. But damn it, man, we've come a long way. And I can almost educate and mark that on a wall. And I'm going to get my soapbox. In 1906, the federal government changed the name of pork roll or told John Taylor of Trenton, get ham off the label. It's misleading and it's unfair. It's not ham. It's chopped up pork shoulder. Does taste like ham, but it's not ham. So the federal government said, don't call it that.
Yeah.
And what is North Jersey? And you included, what do you call it?
Taylor ham.
It was legislation, but the point is, it was almost legally said, don't say this. But we're free-thinking animals. We're going to say what we want.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're not offensive. Hopefully we're kind and whatnot. But it's the same kind of thing. It's amazing that product has, I don't know, it hasn't changed.
Yeah.
It really hasn't.
Yeah, which is incredible. And then
He was 20 years old when he invented it. He was 20.
yeah, well, like I feel like I don't know enough about him, but just like the background of like how did he even think of doing something like that? But
If you go to Wikipedia and trust that, and I think it's vetted through the Trentonian or like people that know a lot about that area of New Jersey, he was born of a father named John Taylor, who apparently had connections to the Civil War, like honestly fought with Washington in the Civil War, and then his son came along and father somehow died in a brick accident or some sort of industrial accident. He had some sort of mason and he died. So it forced him at a young age of 14 to get a job. Like, well, if your father's gone, you've got to do something.
yeah,
So he started working with what today I guess we would call the grocery business or the food business. And
Yeah.
he fell in with these guys who were packers, moving meat and product, and learned a little bit. And the urban myth, and I say it truly, it's like an urban myth, but it makes sense. He kind of was privy to these old timers talking about this cured chopped pork that came in a sack that they gave the soldiers during the Battle of Trenton. And it was something that they could take because it was salted and eat it as like a ration.
yeah,
And again, ham steak, which was kind of, breakfast was just becoming a big thing in America. Like breakfast really came to power with Kellogg's and cereal. People didn't eat breakfast. The average guy got a stale little muffin and maybe a cup of tea with butter out the door. Let's go.
Sure.
Like, somebody who came from more affluence maybe had ham steak, green eggs and ham, like little meat, little egg and all this stuff. So I really think he listened to whatever this little rumor was and said, I wonder if I can make a kind of heat meat, poor man's ham steak. And that's really what I think. If I could sit and talk to my business, that's
right.
kind of what I wanted to make.
Yeah.
So it was cheaper than buying ham, which is an anatomical cut, more expensive piece of meat, versus chopped up pork shoulder, which is like the chuck of the pig. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, right.
Like Spam. Spam is an acronym for spiced ham. It's another fake ham. It's pork shoulder, salted, cured, but it comes in a can, obviously.
Right.
But it's the same kind of idea. They
Yeah.
tried to take something, chuck and make it filet mignon.
Right.
In a simple sense. So, his whole legacy, and he was a purveyor, so he sold other things from what I've been told. Horses, like he had slaughter yards, like he was kind of an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
He became a state senator. He's credited, which is ironic to me as a food truck guy, he's credited with leading legislation and in charge in New Jersey to get rid of the street markets.
Oh.
Which basically were like the old time you think of a guy going down the street with a donkey and a car like, I got peaches, I got tomatoes. Hello, those were food trucks,
Right.
1890.
Yeah.
But he didn't like that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because what did he own? He was involved in grocery stores. What did I tell you? The bar restaurant says, we don't like food trucks. We don't want these food trucks. John Taylor was kind of like pissed on the food truck industry in the late 1800s. Passed legislation to outlaw these street markets. You had to buy through vetted. And I'm sure the argument was, maybe it wasn't sanitary, it wasn't inspected. Nothing was inspected back in that time period. So that was him. And then he had an opera house. There's actually a Taylor Street named after him somewhere in Trenton.
Yeah.
Sadly, if you go to Trenton, all the street signs have been stolen.
Sure.
You had to recycle them.
It's hard to
They recycle them.
Yeah.
I swear to God, you get lost in Trenton, you better have a GPS.
Yeah, need to.
You're not going to know where the hell you are.
Way around.
But that's him, yeah.
Yeah. Well, as we get closer to the end of this episode, because unfortunately we are coming up close to the end of it.
Kidding, really? No, I'm only kidding.
Well, I mean, we covered a lot, I feel like. One of the things that I've been impressed with you
Yeah.
is
My love for Miller High Life?
sure, which we all do. But like one of the things that I've noticed, like coming in here, seeing the food truck out, is like the sense of like community that's around
Yeah.
what your brand is, really.
Yeah.
And I think like that's really like anytime I walk in here, there's always like people, like these guys sitting here. I don't even know what they're doing. Like they're just hanging out. But like the last time I was
They
here,
like
there was a
you,
couple
Mike
people.
Ham.
Yeah,
They want
thank
to
you.
turn you into Mike Taylor. Isn't that awesome? His name is Ham. All the kids.
Yeah, right.
Not to get tangential.
No, sure.
That's pretty much my middle name.
Yeah.
Johnny Tangent. They call me- He goes, sometimes he's Johnny Segway, sometimes he's Johnny Tangent.
Segway.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I am.
No, it's okay. This has been great so far.
But
Talk to me about the community side of it, because I think that's like a really interesting thing and a really important part of kind of like what you've been able to build.
It's like a weird tribalism to pork roll in a Jersey sense, and it's like we're all just kind of products of this state and dealing with the same things we all deal with, which is what's it all about? How can I afford to live here? Where's the future going to be? Like, and pork roll, again, is like a weird soft tissue that connects a lot of people.
Yeah.
Even like this guy who you can't see, but he doesn't even eat pork roll when he comes here.
Right, yeah. I was shocked.
He ended up in the Vice video. He's like, he makes the best egg and cheese. It's bomb every time.
Yeah. It's bomb.
That's what he said. He goes, it's bomb every time.
Yeah.
I love you, man. But I don't know. I just feel very lucky that this all happened the way it did. And I saw it in my mind and I made it happen, and it's weird.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to end. I really would love to take pork roll.
Yeah. Well, that's what my next question.
Whether they want to go or not, I want to go.
What's next?
Do
you know?
I've worked on this little film. I have this crazy show idea I want to float out. Like, I want to get in that truck and go around. I want to try to open stores in Asheville or in Austin or Michigan. Like, it's a unique food. I've always joked like West Hollywood or like Venice Beach. And there are places I find on Instagram or find me that are selling it. Colorado as an example. And people are flipping for it. Like,
yeah.
Not to get into the business argument, but I've told this one before. Spam is a $2 billion a year industry. We'll all agree that pork roll is way better than Spam.
Sure.
Can't we get 15% of that market? Do the math. You don't have to be that bright. It's like tipping on a $2 billion bill.
Yeah.
What's a tip on a $2 billion? I just think it's such a neat product, you know, and people laugh, you know, where's it all going? But it's slowly creeping out of Jersey. And it's thanks to people like yourselves, the internet, the web. Like, Americans are now much more open to food than they ever were before.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to see.
Yeah, totally.
And again, back to unifying people, it's food.
Right.
It's this kind of, hey, man, I like this, or I want to try that.
Yeah.
It's just something different.
Yeah, definitely.
It's simple. It's a beautiful thing.
It's our ethnic food, like you said.
Yeah, it's New Jersey's ethnic. It's New Jersey's bacon, egg, and cheese. Guys from Florida, he's called that. Yeah. What is this? It's like New Jersey's bacon, egg, and cheese, which I hate because you're calling it like, you know, what it isn't. But that's why I like it. It's our ethnic food. It's like our empanada. It's our pizza.
Yeah.
It's our cheesesteak.
Totally. So if people are listening to this episode and somehow they don't know you or what you do, but they know me, which I find that incredibly surprising. If they want to learn more about you, find the truck, find the location, where would you send them to go do that?
Everything's indexed online under pork roll truck. So if you just do hashtag pork roll truck, I swear it's almost like my old school link tree.
Yeah.
For those things, I'm like, I'll just do a hashtag. Because I already started the truck 10 years ago. It's like, aren't you going to follow us on Facebook or like us or whatever? Then I'm like, nah, I'm just going to do a hashtag under pork roll truck.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird because I'm Johnny Pork Roll, but everything's under pork roll truck. But it's pretty easy to find all our sort of who we are and what we do.
Yeah.
You can book the truck. Obviously, we do a lot of weddings, a lot.
Cool.
I think it should be mandated. I also think Governor Murphy, even though he's going to be out of office soon, should anoint me Lord Pork Roll.
Yeah.
You know, Colonel Sanders got that title from the governor.
Yeah.
All he did for Kentucky with fried chicken. They're like, you deserve a title.
Yeah.
So shouldn't I get like Squire Pork Roll or Lord Pork Roll? Lord of the Pork
Lord of the Pork Roll.
Lord of the Pork Roll. I'll have to learn a step dance.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's really cool. But I don't know. We're a truck. We're a store. We're an idea.
Yeah.
We're New Jersey.
Love it.
We're fucking New Jersey.
Fucking New Jersey.
There's a Jersey fetish.
Totally.
I mean, you look at all the shows, The Sopranos, Jersey-licious, Cake One.
People are fascinated by us.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Because we don't fit in a box.
No.
And I hate that term, but we don't.
Right.
You know, we're outspoken. Yeah. We're considered the best-looking people, I've been told.
That's what I've also heard. Not in this room right now.
We used to have the highest SAT score. Somebody said we dropped to number 2. We have the lowest driving rates in the country.
We have more engineers and PhDs per capita than any place in the world.
We really do. And I don't mean that to disparage any other state, because I love every part about America. I really do. All of us in this crazy way that we all exist as a republic, 50 of us. But New Jersey is a funny little oddball. What the hell, New Jersey?
Yeah.
We produced a lot of stuff. Man.
Yeah, totally.
And pork roll's one of them.
Yeah.
Pork roll's one of them.
And that's it.
And me, it produced me.
Right.
Were you produced here?
I was produced here.
Season that
born
nice. We were invented in New Jersey.
Derek Jeter, actually.
Get out of town. What hospital was he born in?
Chilton Memorial Hospital in Pompton Plains, I guess that is.
Please.
Yeah. Yeah. So it produced Derek Jeter.
Passaic County?
No, that's still Morris County.
Morris County. Sorry. No disrespect.
That's okay.
I know Passaic's kind of a rough county.
Yeah. I'm not
Great deal. I love New Jersey. All the counties, Cumberland, Salem, I probably could name all 21.
Yeah.
Most people, you ask them to do 21 counties, they're like, what?
I probably couldn't.
100, Somerset, Union, Cape May, Burlington, Sussex, right? Warren?
Sussex, way up there. All right, so I'll make sure I put the links that people can go just check it out. Website,
awesome.
Instagram, they can click them. They can find where the truck is.
Asbury Park in the summer.
Over the summer in Asbury Park. Here all the time in Red Bank. I really appreciate you having me down here.
Oh, dude, I appreciate you coming down.
Yeah, I appreciate
all the way from Taylor Hamland.
That's right, all the way from Taylor.
So when you go to your friends up north, tell them we are peaceful.
You do feel it, like when you hit that like Central Jersey area, you like feel it in your chest.
Dude, there's no other state that has something as funny as that, and I'm kind of sick of it. I wish we start debating ketchup or no ketchup.
Yeah, right.
Like let that be the next 10-year debate. Oh, I hate ketchup. I love ketchup.
Right.
But this Taylor and Port Roll thing, I don't know if it'll ever die. It's a riot.
It's never.
It's real. It's a real line. It's Mason-Dixon.
Sure. Oh yeah.
It's Mason-Dixon.
It is.
Sure.
So, so links will be in the show notes. Thank you again.
My honor.
GreetingsfromthegardenState.com will be in the show notes as well, so people can go check out all of our
Say hello
other
to the
episodes.
lottery again.
Yeah, hey, lottery.
Anything can happen in New Jersey, right?
That's true.
I think that's
happen in
I
Jersey.
really do. I think that whoever came up with that tagline, that's brilliant.
Yeah. Well,
it fits us. That fits us.
It really does.
Anything could happen here.
And that
It's
was
New
like our
Jersey.
when we had our big conversation about the sponsorship thing, that was it. You know?
I really do. I always thought that was such a great line. Anything can happen in Jersey.
Totally.
Because we're the backseat to New York. You know, the New York lottery is still the New York lottery, and then there's the Jersey lottery. I don't care. You compare dollars. Well, they're kind of equal, but it's always like, and I think when they developed that tag, like that set us apart. Like, hey, man,
100%.
You can make it happen in New York, but anything can happen in Jersey. You never know.
Literally anything.
You never know, bro.
Cool. So this has been the Greetings from the Garden State podcast, powered by the New Jersey Lottery. I'm Mike Ham. We were here in Red Bank, New Jersey at Johnny's Pork Roll and Coffee 2 with John Yarusi. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time.